On June the 11th, the World Test Championship final heads to Lords for the first time. And to mark the occasion, we've got a South African and an Australian here with us. Mark Boucher, Aaron Finch, pleasure to have you with us. Bouch, to start with you, what an achievement for South Africa, reaching the World Test Championship final for the first time.
Yeah, it is a massive achievement. I think there's a couple of good things that have been happening in South African cricket at the moment. So I think starting off with the SA20, for the players have been, sort of exposed to quite a bit of good cricket. It's something that was needed in our country. And then we've done fairly well in the World Cup. So obviously haven't been able to pull it over the line yet. That's still something that we'd want to sort of look after. And then this, I think this has been massive for us. I think over a long period of time, there's been a group of individuals that have been putting some good hard work behind closed doors. And this is just the benefits of that. So the guys have all been nervous. We've had an interesting way and pathway into it that we'll probably chat about. But certainly, everything's looking like it's going to be a good challenge for the Proteas team moving into Lords.
And what about you personally? Obviously, you took over that Test team in 2019 when they were in a spot of transition. Do you feel some pride that they've achieved what they have?
Yeah, as I was saying, there's been a lot of hard work that's been done behind closed doors. I mean, when we first took over, myself and Graham, one of the things that we discussed was that we needed to up the skill level. We felt that was really lacking. And that is something that we really put a lot of hard work and effort into it with the players. And I think the players need to take a lot of credit for that as well. They were quite open and honest with us with where they were and where they felt they needed to improve. And they went out and they understood that there was a lot of hard work to do. And, there's a lot of players that have done a lot of good things from there. I don't think that they're the completed product yet. But this is certainly something that would be a massive challenge for them. And I know for a fact that a lot of them, they're not 100% sure how long they're going to still be around for. So this might be their last shot at something really special. So it's exciting for them and everyone who's been a part of that road towards it sort of over the last 5 years.
Finchy, for the Aussies, business as usual, back at a final, defending champions.
Yeah, I think that's been a big focus of the Australian Test team for a while now, and obviously winning the last one at the Oval, now going to Lords. I think it's a reward for really consistent cricket over a long period of time for the Test team in particular. Pat Cummins has led that transition, which was a difficult one, I think back in 2022 to what it is now. So, yeah, a lot of good players that have been really consistent over that time.
It looks like two really strong bowling attacks on paper, I think it's fair to say. A good spinner on each side, Keshav Maharaj and Nathan Lyon, but also the seamers, which in English conditions you think might well be the decisive battle. Which do you see as the stronger of the two attacks?
Oh, I think when you look at both lineups, you'd say both spinners cancel each other out generally. You look at Pat Cummins versus Rabada, probably cancel each other out. I think they're both very quality attacks, but it comes down to the batting at the end of the day, I think. Australia probably slightly have the edge there in the depth and the quality right throughout the order. I think South Africa have probably got a few holes that they'd be unsure who to pick, whereas I think Australia, they've got the luxury of Cameron Green coming back into cricket after back surgery, Sam Constas as an option. So there's quite a few options there.
Mark, you see it the same way?
Absolutely. We actually spoke about it off air as well, just talking about the conditions and how that could turn very quickly. We all understand Lords and we understand overhead conditions and that, win the toss on the day, and it's a bit overcast. Anything can sort of happen. So I think that's quite nice that you go into a test match in conditions where it could go both ways. It's always quite exciting if you're a fan watching. But certainly on paper, Australia will probably feel that, and we do feel as well, that they've got a better batting lineup than what we have. And you can see with the averages, the scores that they've been putting on as well. South Africa, we've been hot, but then we've been cold as well, and especially in English conditions where we won the last Test match that we played against England there, and we went ahead in the series, but then we just couldn't really put together anything that's substantial on the scoreboard with regards to runs. And I think that's where we really lost our way in the whole series. Our bowling was always there and thereabouts, but you need to be able to score runs. And even now, I sit here and I'm full of confidence, but I'm just questioning how we're going to get past 250 in conditions that could be quite difficult.
Well, you say that it's important to win the toss if it's overcast. On the flip side, you can win the toss in England and it's nice and sunny.
Yeah,
then like that, the clouds come in and the ball starts going around corners. So often it can be a case of losing the toss and getting lucky on the day as well.
Yeah, for sure.
You mentioned those conditions. What are your memories of how the pitch at Lord's played across those days? Because it was a real low-scoring test match, but it might be a little bit different, sort of slightly earlier in the season.
Exactly what we're talking about. You know, the morning, the sun's out, and then the cloud cover comes in and it starts going around a bit. But my memory of the last test match there was purely one spell, and that was Anrich Nortje, where he bowled really quickly and just broke the game open. And, you know, I would like to hope and think that South Africa would still be looking at him. He hasn't been playing for quite some time now because he's come back from injury. You know, he's playing in the RPL, so, you know, he's obviously still bowling. If you can have someone who can bowl 150 k's an hour and is quick as well, and we've seen, you know, if there is a hole in the Australian batting lineup, it's someone who can bowl 150 k's an hour.
Absolutely.
You'd want that to have that in your armory, and I think South Africa have got that with Anrich Nortje. If he stays fit, I just hope that they're still looking at him to maybe be a part of that squad.
So as former coach of South Africa, if you're looking ahead, there's an IPL at the moment, and you've got Nortje here, probably upskilling in his 4-over spells, probably not getting the huge amount of workload. Would you have an issue going into that test match with not a huge amount of preparation? It's not like he's going to have the opportunity to get a huge workload in before that test match, and especially somebody who has broken down in the past. Would you have concerns about that as a coach?
I would have concerns if it's a series. If it's a once-off game, I'd probably be prepared to say, right, he can push himself. Also knowing the character that he is. So Anrich I think he's only played one game in the RPL so far. So you'd like to think that these conversations are happening behind closed doors already with the coaches, and they're sort of saying, listen, if you are going to be in our squad going to England, we'd like you to work on your workloads. So, you know, maybe at training that he's with KKR now, he's upping his workloads there and slowly building it up after an injury to be ready to bowl the long spells in a once-off game. If you're talking about
Australia's
series,
in the same position as well. Yeah. Stark, Cummins, Hazelwood, they're all here as well, and they've been they've been playing, all three of them, so they wouldn't have the opportunity to get the bulk workload in either. So it'll be really interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, and the biggest thing as well is that how many times have we seen casualties after an RPL?
Yeah.
You know, the workload on these players is quite big, and it's the travelling and sleeping in different beds, all that type of stuff. It all adds to, you know, the possibility of an injury before a massive game like this. So I think the squad depth is quite important for both squads as well, and knowing as a coach as well that, you know, if I do lose someone, I've got someone to back him up as well. And I think that's where, you know, you've got to start looking at from a coaching perspective.
There's a couple of really exciting young players who have come into the South African team in the past few years. I'm thinking Ryan Rickleton and particularly Tristan Stubbs. It's going to be a big occasion. Do you think they're well equipped to deal with that in a one-off game?
Yeah, I think they're well equipped. Experience-wise, no. Have they got the attitude to go out there and in a once-off game just, you know, give it their all? Absolutely. You know, Ryan Rickleton, he's been playing nicely for Mumbai Indians. He was actually on the tour that we went to England as well. So although he didn't get a lot of game time, you know, he would have taken a lot of experience from that. And he's actually played quite a few games in England as well. So he'll know the conditions. Tristan Stubbs, he also has come back and he's played a lot of domestic cricket, 4-day cricket. And he's forced his way into the test side because of the runs that he's got. Is our 4-day domestic competition strong? No, it's not, if we're brutally honest with that. But runs is runs, and I suppose, you know, he gets that opportunity. He's also been working with some good past players, you know, behind the scenes as well, who've been working on his technique, and that's a feather in his cap as well, because he wants to improve and he really wants to do well in Test cricket.
Finch, you know Andrew McDonald very well. How will he approach selection for a one-off game, especially given there are quite a few question marks in the Australia batting lineup as to who fills which spot? Obviously, Marnus Labuschagne's struggled for form recently. What will be his attitude for a one-off game?
Well, going into the last one, he wanted to reward the players that had got Australia there, and I think that was a reality of the time. There wasn't the huge amount of depth. Well, there was depth, but there wasn't that real competitiveness for selection at that time. So he was prepared to just say, you know what, this group of players has got us here. You're going to do the job. Now I think it's slightly different. When you look, there's Bo Webster who's come into the side recently and replaced Mitch Marsh. Like you said, Marnus is under pressure as well, and especially with Cam Green coming back, getting 100 in county cricket first up. And then it comes down to Hazelwood versus Boland for that third seaming spot. So overall, I think it's just going to be pick the best team to win in that Test match. So whether it's Marnus misses out and Cam Green goes to the top, or whatever it might look like, it's just try and win that Test match.
Can you answer that difficult call? Who should open the batting with Usman Khawaja?
Well, it's a difficult one because Marnus hasn't scored the runs at number 3, and the way that he's been playing has probably been the concern for me. I mean, his strike rate has plummeted over the last 18 months. He's not putting any pressure back on the opposition at all. And when you're batting in that position, you have to be prepared to counter-attack at certain times. You can't just allow the best bowlers in the world to bowl with a new ball at you over and over without forcing their hand a little bit. You're going to get a good one. We've seen wickets around the world have probably been better for fast bowling over the last couple of years, so you can't afford to just sit there and wait to score. Cameron Green's a pretty good player. Bo Webster took his opportunity at number 6. Maybe Constas comes back into the side to open the batting, and you throw Cam Green at 3, and you almost push that for the next cycle of the WTC as well. Steve Smith's back in great nick at 4, Travis Head 5. It's a good side still here. Then there's plenty of options, which is good.
You mentioned Travis Head. He's obviously had a quieter IPL this time around than last year, as things stand. How do you expect him to approach a fixture like that? He obviously made such a big impact in 23 in that final at the Oval.
Same way he approaches every innings, just try and smack it from the start. And that's what I mean. He puts pressure on opposition before he's faced a ball. You know that you have to be right on. And sometimes the better you bowl, the better he bats. It's like his game is set up for that top of off ball. He hits the different areas on the ground. He'll hit the same ball that's 4th stump through backward point or through wide mid on. So bowlers all of a sudden feel that pressure and start searching for ways to get him out. So that's an advantage as well. And he'll come hard. He'll try and he understands that you've got your name on one eventually. So get them before they get you.
And Bouch, South Africa, you obviously mentioned what happened in the T20 World Cup final, the history of not quite managing to get across the line in white ball tournaments specifically. Do you think that's any different in a red ball game, especially when it's a one-off for both teams?
It's playing for a trophy, so I guess a lot of people are saying no. But yeah, I think it's a different feel to Test match cricket. It's played over a longer period of time, and you just got to win big moments in the game as well. So yes, there will be that tag that gets thrown away until we win some trophy. You're not going to get rid of the tag. Is it deserving on these youngsters coming through? No. It's almost like they're carrying the burden of what happened in previous years, which is always going to be tough on them. But they're the ones in control of their futures at the moment. So it's going to take 1 or 2 good knocks. You're talking about a Head. If he comes off, he's going to be dangerous. For South Africa, if he walks into an unbelievable spell of Anrich Nortje who can break the game open. These are the moments that players have got to stand up. And instead of having one day we go to do it, there's probably 4 or 5 days where these moments can take place. So it's going to be interesting to see what conditions there are. I think that's going to play a major role in it. If we're South Africans, we probably want a little bit of a green top.
Yeah,
I think that will even the playing fields with regards to batting. And it'll bring our bowlers in, because I think that our bowlers, especially with the variation we got in height and pace and swing, I think they could be quite effective on that Lord's ground.
And as we head into the 3rd final of the World Test Championship, it was sort of brought in, I think, to reinvigorate Test cricket a little bit. Does it feel like, particularly for South Africa, it's managed to do that? Obviously, the crowds are probably not what we've seen in Australia back home for BGT, for example. But it does feel like for those players in particular, it's been a huge motivator.
Yeah, I think for the players, the crowds are fairly poor in South Africa at the moment with regards to Test cricket. I think it's also who you play against. I mean, that's going back to another thing now, the way that we've actually got to where we are at the moment. A lot of people have criticised South Africa, which is not really fair. It's you play what's in front of you, and with all due respect, the sides that we've played against, we probably should have beaten, and we've done that. So we find ourselves in a final. But I wouldn't say that it's got the crowds going in our country. I think everyone's very excited about it now as the opportunity arises. So I think a lot of people are going to travel over to London, spend all their rands, and travel over to London to go watch what should be a good match. But yeah, if we win it, I think then that could be the turnaround for Test cricket in our country.
And do you feel like it's added context? I mean, in Australia, a series against India is always going to have context. Was there that little bit of extra with the knowledge of the permutations of what you need to get to the final?
Yeah, I think there is. And there was a lot of talk in the lead up to Gavaskar Trophy about what Australia need to do to qualify, and that was a big narrative as well. So I think in that regard it has done its job. And like Bouch said, it's not South Africa's fault that they've played probably weaker opposition. They don't make their own schedule, so it's just the reality of the modern game. If a series is done and dusted in 2 test matches, it just gives that third test match still relevance, and that's what it was brought in for. So I think it's done its job. Does it need tweaking? Probably a little bit, but what doesn't?
Who are the favourites?
I think Australia are still the favourites, particularly in neutral territory.
Yeah, I'd back that as well. I think Australia are the favourites, but we like to come from behind.
Brilliant. Should be a great week at Lords. Mark Boucher, Aaron Finch, thanks very much.